Hey everybody, this is Al with the El Rey Collection. Today to talk to you about the epic cardboard of none other than Steve Bloomer. Steve Bloomer was probably the most prolific goal scorer of the early game. Played most of his career for Derby County, and then went on to Middleborough at the end of his career. He's still the second highest goal scorer in top flight English football, and is generally getting a lot of hobby love for his cards. So I wanted to walk through some of his cards and some commentary, because there are a lot of absolutely wonderful options, but they're also getting harder to find. So kind of give you some insight to the different options out there, as well as my comments on what to get. So without further ado, let's just jump into it with what most people consider his rookie card, and I would tend to agree. This is the 1902 Ogden's cigarettes. That's how PSA has it categorized. I actually have this together with SGC as a 1900 due to the checklist, which shows that some of the players actually could only have been playing in 1900 because they were no longer playing in 1902. So I show you here a PSA copy which shows the 1902 number, and then here I will show you a PSA 1900 label. Again, same cards. Epic card, I would say. Just look at that photography. Absolute kind of must-have from my mind on the bloomers. Now, I would say this is probably also one of the easier bloomers to find. So that's the good news. You can actually find this out there. They're commonly at auction. I think now they routinely sell for more than $1,000. But get lucky. One thing to watch out for on these cards. Honestly, I'd prefer a graded copy, because many collectors in the UK would use Sharpie, and you see these white dots here that come from chipping. They would fill those in with Sharpie, which automatically leads to an SGC or PSA-A. You may not care about those things. I happen to care a little bit, so I try to get graded cards and or carefully inspect the cards to make sure there's no Sharpie used to fill those holes. So that's what I would generally consider his rookie. But let's just assume for a moment that 1902 date from PSA is actually a good date. Well, if that's the case, this may be our rookie card for Bloomer. This is also labeled as a 1902 F&J Hill Smith footballers. Specifically, I think on the street, we tend to call this the cup tie for obvious cigarettes, right? So, but this is this card was for a very long time cataloged as a 1906 card, and just recently, with the great help of Scott Leventhal, fantastic, amazing collector. I think that he went through the entire checklist and found some players that had only played in 1900 and 1901, which would right now give this a 1901 moniker. So I think that that this, I'd say this is probably 1901, 1902. Regardless, I'm gonna generally say that this and the Ogdens are his first card. So I guess with a close tie to the next one. And while they're the first, cards or rookie cards, I wouldn't necessarily say by any stretch of the imagination that these are the most desired cards out of all of them. I mean, they should be quite desired and quite followed, but I think a lot of people will take cards like this 1902 Three Nuns Tobacco, which again PSA calls this as J&F Bell, right, with this really cool back. For those of you that have seen my my top 10 cards from the 1900s video, it's really hard to keep beautiful cards like this out of those of that video, but I kind of limited myself to 3. But every time I see this card and the Cadles, you just look at these things and you're like, how can this not be a top card? In all likelihood, it probably is. I'd say that, if there was no limit on the number of cards I included in a particular video for the top cards of a decade, I think I'd probably have 5 or 6 bloomers in there. These are just crazy, cool, and amazing cards. So anyway, here is the J&F Bell, or on the street, the cup tie, or I mean 3 bells, Three Nuns tobacco up here, Three Nuns tobacco, that we generally look for. Amazing card. So then you get to what I'd say some of the easiest early cards. Maybe not easy in this in this grade, but the Will cigarettes, pretty easy in the standard version. Getting more difficult. So I'd certainly be picking up any bloomer card you see right now. But I'd say that this and the 1906 Ogdens traditionally are the easier ones. But even those are hard to find these days. But certainly in a 7 like this one, really tough. Here's the Wills. I guess I'll show the back. Now the interesting thing, which is what I'll show you in a second, is these Wills typically came in the regular, what I'll call monochrome front, and they also came in a violet version, which was just a color variation. Which PSA does not notice as a variation, but you can clearly notice that it's a variation when you actually hold the cards. And I would say that the violet version is much more scarce. So, keep that in mind. If you see a violet version, I would put a higher premium on that for a same grade. So here's, again, the standard one, monochrome, black and white, beautiful cards. We're not going to talk these down because they're also so beautiful. And then here you've got these Wills, also no difference in the title, but it's this pinkish color. So here I'll show you here. Here's the original color followed by the pinkish color. Original pink. So there you go. So pick up these when you see them. They're getting tougher to find. What have always been tougher to find is this, which looks like, hey, wait a second, didn't you just show me this card? Well, actually not. So this is the Clark and Son. You can see up here, it's the same image, but at the top it says Clark's. So watch out for those. And some people will just not even notice that it's different, right? Of course, the back is very different, much more intricate. William Clark and Son from Liverpool and London. These are great with a little write-up. So these Clarks are even rarer than the fuchsia colored or painted one. This one. So in my hierarchy, this Clark is the most difficult, followed by the mauve, or I don't know what, I keep changing what I call this, fuchsia, and then followed by the normal. Again, same image, so you're not probably gonna notice this, but you get to see the background's slightly different on this. It's more gray all the way around, and then importantly it says Clark's in a very different back. So here's the back again on Clark's. So keep your eyes out for those. Go after them. When you see them, if you're a Bloomer fan, Derby County fan, English football fan, historian, clearly one of the most important players, of the early part of the game. And then I had referenced this card, earlier. This is the Bloomer Cadles. Again, it's just he's looking angrily at the camera. The Cadles probably have the nicest, coolest back of the 1900s issues. Look at him just peering at us. He's like, "Why are you taking this picture?" Well, because Steve, we wanted to talk about you 100 years after and how cool you were. Okay, so get off the photographer's back. Check out that back. Oh. And this is from Percy Cadle from Cardiff. Nice place, Cardiff Bay. For all those Welsh fans out there. Love that. Nice Doctor Who museum out there. Very nice. And the Cadles, just epically important. We're in 1904 now, still early for Bloomer cards, even though he started his career in the early 1890s. I think 1891. So can't get enough of those Cadles. Just never enough. But this has to be one of my favorite. I mean, maybe one of my favorite all-time cards. So many great cards, but this. Oh man, this photographic Singleton and Cole is just insane. It's the photograph where he looks kind of confused, but it's different from what he uses on any other card. I just love this. The back is so pure and clean. I don't know what to tell you besides this is absolutely one of my favorite cards, despite having this crease here that you can see. Actually in person, not nearly as distracting as what you guys see, but you can see some of the crackle on this photographic card. Just amazing. Oh, these Singleton and Coles, so tough, but so amazing. Great card. Okay, so this similar to the Wills, these 1906 Ogdens, which don't say his name, at least on SGC holders. I don't think they do on PSA either, but it's clearly him. You can see, and there's I think Crompton has one for Blackburn Rovers. Meredith has one for Manchester United. But anyway, the Derby County one is him, and it just says Ogden's up top, just like the Wills. These are traditionally some of the more common ones that you can find of him. I would generally say that this is I'm going to say actually right now, the most common Bloomer card out there. That doesn't mean don't get it. It's just common. Now, what does common mean? It doesn't mean that it's, there's still probably only a few handfuls, graded. And, while there may be, multiples of tens, maybe up into the hundreds in the market, these are still incredibly scarce, collectibles on a global basis, given what I perceive should be the demand now and even more the coming demand. These early English cards are really getting some love in the market, and that love is long overdue. So that's the traditional Ogden's one. Now I'm going to show you another one where you're going to say, didn't you just show me this, Al? No, actually I didn't. So this is the Franklin and Davy version, which uses the exact same picture. It says Derby County down here, but up here in small letters is going to say Lodestone cigarettes. And then clearly you can notice the back is totally different. I love it. You up for a superfine shag? If you are, get Franklin's. We won't pretend to say that the language was used in the same way 100 years ago, but certainly that's some serious advertising. So we've got Franklin's superfine shag, and then we've also got the more standard Ogdens. So remember this: you prefer the shag to the Ogdens. All right, you definitely do, because this Franklin's superfine shag Lodestone cigarettes is way more scarce. So similar grade, always go for the Lodestone. Okay, we'll leave it at that. You can also go for the Churchman, since we're talking about from the superfine shag to Church. Here we have the Churchman cigarettes there, and then you can see on the back looks much more like the Ogden's back. So there's the Churchmans, and here's the Ogdens. So looks very similar. The colors are different. It's just down here you see Churchman, and here you see Ogdens, and here you see the superfine shag. So for me, my priority, I'm going to go superfine shag, Churchman's, and then the Ogdens. So those are the order that I would recommend. But if you get them all if you can. These are just amazing collectibles. Then let's move on to the Bloomer. Taddy, I mean, what can we say about the Taddies? One of the all-time epic sets of English, football, cigarettes. Love the remake that Futera recently did on the Taddies. just iconic white with a oval photograph. Again, there's different backs on these. You've got the grapple mixture and you've got the Imperial Tobacco in this particular issue. Bloomer only shows up in the 1907 Taddies. Remember, he finished his career in the early teens after a 20-year career. No, like 1912, I want to say. So he basically had a 20+ year career. So he doesn't make the 1913-14 Taddies that come out at the onset of the war. So this is your choice if you're a Taddy fan, and these are absolutely epic. As a set and as a player, I mean, it's the marquee card. Him and Meredith are the marquee cards in that set. And then, not to ruin my top 10 cards of the decade, but you've got to look at these John Sinclairs and just say, wow, amazing photography, amazing scarcity, absolute true rarity in every sense of the imagination, from the difficulty in cataloging to the distribution. These John Sinclair cards are just insane. So certainly if you see this card, stumble over yourself on the way to get out the wallet. Completely worth it. Here's the back. Look at that. Smoke Barney's the Ideal Tobacco sole manufacturer, John Sinclair in Newcastle. Oh, that type font, the photography on that Bloomer is just insane. And this is where he's already playing for Middlesbrough. So he left Derby, where he was, again, the all-time, I think to this day, the all-time. It must be because he's number 2. So he's got to be number 1 for them. Now we come into what I just say is the most amazing baby blue card that's ever been issued. These 1910 Cope Brothers, which I'd say on the street, again, we tend to call Cope's Clips. From a technical perspective, it's the Copes and Brothers Limited. Noted Footballers is the set, but we generally, when you're looking for these, generally I say, hey, do you have any Cope's Clips? Because these are known. These baby blue cards are just really well known and followed. I'd say probably a close second to the Taddies in terms of beauty and following broadly in the well-developed collector's base, and one of the most gorgeous cards I think ever issued. So if the Futera guys are out there, a Cope's Clip Noted Footballers would also be a really cool set to look at. You can see that around it there's this the oval comes through from the front in terms of the impression, but it's super cool, incredibly fragile, these 1910 Cope's Clips. And then we'll kind of close it out with the last couple that I have. But these Smiths, these again are not easy collectibles to get. So here's this 1910 with Smith's Pinewood. You can certainly find this card out there. Not super common, but it's certainly out there. All of these cards are generally hard to find in high grade. I would generally say if you're getting them in 3s, you should be pretty happy. Any of these issues. And here's the one that I'll close it out with, which is Murray Cigarette. Pretty scarce, brand of cigarettes out there in 1913. So this is the end of his road, so to speak. Not exactly sure why they put him in Derby, because I thought he was in Middlesbrough there. Maybe he went back to Derby for the end of the career. These also have different series, like H. This is Series H, I believe. There's J, Series B, I think. But these Murray cigarettes, some collectors have these on par with the Singleton and Cole, the Cope's Clips, the Solace cards of 1910, or the Taddies. For me, all those other issues are a step up, and the Murrays are kind of lower down. still exceedingly scarce. So, true rarity. It has true rarity going for it. But, the image on them and, the photography isn't my favorite on any of the Murrays, actually. But, you have to appreciate, rarity, and people can have different takes on that. So if you find some Murrays, go get them, whether they're Bloomers, Merediths, whatever. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video as a walk through the epic cardboard of Steve Bloomer. If you have, please smash that like button just to confirm that you're liking this type of videos. Leave some comments. Let me know, where we can improve, what you like, what you don't like, which cards you think, maybe should be included if I left something off. Certainly love to hear from you guys, and hope that you love the El Rey collection on my Epic Cardboard channel. So thanks so much, everybody, and we'll see you next time as we continue to delve into Epic Cardboard of some of football's greatest superstars. Thanks so much.